Hi, I'm Gretchen. I'm a math and science tutor with Oregon Tutor, and I've created a packet of experiments for you to do over the next few days, and I hope you will enjoy them. They are designed to help you learn a bit more about acids and bases. There is a section at the very beginning of your packet that tells you a little bit more. Briefly, what I'd like to say is that neutral samples will have a pH of 7. Acidic samples will have a pH below 7, and basic samples will have a pH above 7. So we're going to use blueberry tea as an indicator to help us determine which one of these three categories our sample belongs in. The first thing that I want to address as far as safety rules are concerned is that do not eat or drink any of your samples. Even though some of these samples are things that we use in food, like our vinegar, and you're going to be using some table salt later on, we still don't want to eat it. It's just a good practice to get into. The other things that you want to consider are what you're wearing. Make sure that you have something that it doesn't matter if it gets stained, and keeping your hair pulled back because you really don't want your hair being part of the experiment. The other things that are important are there's occasionally things that you're going to do in the experiment that you may want an adult's help with. The first thing is making your tea. You're going to make your tea the night before you want to do your experiments. If you need some assistance, have an adult help you boil some water and put your tea bag in one of these big cups. I labeled this tea, and I put my boiling water in there, and I set it aside so that it could cool off and also get really nice, dark, and colorful overnight. I have other cups here that are labeled, which is another important thing to make sure you do with all of your chemistry experiments. I have a cup full of water. It's just regular tap water. It doesn't need to be anything special. I have a cup here full of vinegar. I labeled vinegar. And I'm using these little cups because it's easier than using the tubs that they came in. They don't pour all that well. And I have a little cup for soap, and that came from my tub that I had soap in. Before you pour your soap into your little cup, make sure that you've diluted it with water. You need to take a 2/3 cup of water, pour it into your bucket here, and mix it around very lightly with a spoon. Then you'll be ready to go with your soap. So what I've done is prepared some of my samples ahead of time so that you don't have to sit here and watch me pour samples. What I have here is I have a water sample, which is neutral, and I've poured it to the bottom line of the three lines that are on my clear plastic cup. I have a vinegar sample, same thing, the bottom line, and a basic sample, which is soap. Now, because my tea was prepared last night and I'm all ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and add tea to each one of my samples. I'm going to add it to the top line just because I want to get a lot of color in there. And we get a nice red kind of cranberry color, I think maybe you'd call it. And I pour it in here with the vinegar, and it's a very similar color, so it's kind of hard to tell the difference between the water and the vinegar. And when I pour it in the soap, though, I get a completely different color. I've got this really nice dark purple color. So that tells me that this is a base, and my indicator helped me tell that. I'm going to set these off to the side so we can do our second experiment, but I also want to be able to see these samples while I'm doing the second experiment so I can see if there's a big difference between my control group, which is a group of samples that I've made no changes to, and our next group, which we're going to make some changes to. You may want to, for the future, take a photo or have an adult take a photo of your 3 cups so that you have an idea of what they look like as you do some of your later experiments. So I have a water sample. I have a vinegar sample. And this time I poured 2 soap samples. And I'm going to add a little bit of my tea to all 4 of them. But I'm only going to go to the middle line. I don't need very much tea to tell the difference between these. Oh. And a side note, hold on to your tea bag from your tea, because you can actually, if you run out, you can actually heat up some more water and use the tea bag again, and it'll still give you some really good colors. All right, so these 2, well, they kind of look different, but as we saw here, they don't look too different. So we're going to see if we really can tell a difference. I'm going to add my water to this first cup of soap. You notice nothing really happened except that I spilled. And now I'm going to take the vinegar and add it to my soap. And look what happened. That's a totally different color. So now we have this awesome pink color when we add vinegar to a soap solution. So that is an excellent way for us to tell whether it's an acid or a neutral sample. So we can just kind of compare the 2. That helps us a lot for our next experiments. You've got 3 experiments after this, and I hope you enjoy them all. And don't forget to record your observations. That's really important. That will help you with all of your experiments. Have fun.